Welcome back to Mama Chula Designs. So today we're going to be looking at one of our bow kits to make this super cute Christmas bow. So here are the pieces that come with your bow kit. We're going to go through them. So this is going to be our center layer. This green chunky one is our bottom layer. And then we have a double-sided piece, which we are going to showcase in our bow as our top layer. Okay, that's our center grab. And then we have a 3D resin to go along with it. So now this double-sided one is pretty thick. So I'm going to show you how I go about gluing that together and cutting off little sections so it's not so bulky in the center. So what we want to do is take our, I'd use my weeding tool, okay, and take it down in between those two layers to separate that glue. Okay, and we're just going to do very, very small strokes because we don't want to go too far. We don't want to disrupt the integrity of the two pieces together. So now for this center piece, we're only going to separate just a tiny section in the center. For these outer pieces, though, we're going to go just a little bit farther, not much. Okay, but we do want to get rid of a little bit of a triangle here in the end. So we're going to do that to all 6 pieces or all 6 connecting pieces on these ends. Okay, so now that we have all those done, I'm just going to take my fingernail and just make sure that it is completely separated. There are no fibers sticking together that would get in the way when I need to glue them down. Okay, so I'm going to work on this centerpiece first. Now this one is a very thin piece of leather, so there is no resecting or cutting necessary here. That's all going to be pretty flat when we're done. So I'm going to lay down a line of hot glue here, and I'm going to start with the outer edges. And I'm only going to do the 4 outer edges first before I pull in those center pieces. So this is one side. And then I'm going to turn it around and put some glue on the next side to do the other 2 corners. And I like to turn it around just because it's easier for me to handle it correctly so that I'm more comfortable. So just make sure that you figure those things out for yourselves as well. And I'm hold it down for a few seconds, let that hot glue dry. And then we're going to see where we're going to place these center pieces. And these are going to overlap just slightly on the ends. And that's going to be what that layer will look like. So here's my dot of glue in the center. Do one side. And then I will place another dot of glue on top of this to glue that right side down. You want to make sure that you don't release too early so that the glue has a chance to adhere the layers together. And that's going to be especially important with that double-sided piece. All right, so now we have our bottom layer set out. I'm going to put a glue line on the center, and then I am going to line up that red layer that we just made and center that on the green. This isn't exactly as centered as I would like, so off camera I did go ahead and fix that because, you know, I'm me. All right, so let's move on to our double-sided layer. Okay, so there's our pieces where we separated earlier, and that's the part that I'm going to cut out. So just trim off that triangle at the end. See, very small piece is what I removed. Do the same thing on that other end, and I'm going to do the same thing on the other side as well. So now once we're gluing it down, I had already put a glue piece here. Now you can see that when I do this, it's not going to be ideal. Okay, the pieces are going to start to lift because that piece is so thick that it wants to go back to being flat. Okay, so you don't want to do as I did there and kind of keep letting go. You want to secure it tightly and just let it sit. So as you can see here, I actually went ahead and did both of the outer pieces together. and then glued it down to the center. And you can see that I'm using a sewing clip here to kind of just hold it down just a little bit longer so that it gets a good secure hold. So now I'm going to take these two pieces, and I did not cut these. Okay, what we want to do is sandwich them in together like shown here. Okay, so I'm going to take a piece of our hot glue and I'm going to put it down in the center, and then I'm also going to put glue, which you didn't see, I did it off camera, into the centerpiece of that left fold. So there is glue there and then glue in the center, and you see how one of them kind of lifted. But that is okay. We're going to put it right back down and secure it tightly and just hold it down. Okay, we want to give it sufficient time for that glue to do its job. Okay, so now that that's done, we could place it just like this on the bow and have it be our top layer. But because this is double-sided, I do want to showcase that other part of the pattern. So I'm going to flip it over and do it this way. Of course, it's your personal preference and how you would like to do that. Because we're doing two different leather materials here, I'm also going to use my Harbor Freight super gel glue. And then also add hot glue around that. Okay, and that I also do with my clips, and you'll see that later. I'm going to flip this over, set it down in the center. And just hold it down for a few seconds to make sure that it has sufficient time to adhere. All right, so our next step is to add our centerpiece. So I am going to add some hot glue and some super glue to my clip when I go to the back. So I'm going to put one line at the top with the super glue, and then I'm going to come in right under it with the hot glue and do another line of glue. So I particularly like to do it this way just because the hot glue obviously sets a lot quicker, but it holds it in place while the super glue continues to dry, and I believe that it gives it a, a more secure hold here. Okay, so now I'm going to bring our centerpiece around. I'm going to put a dot of glue down to do one end. Okay, and then on top of that, I will place another bead of glue and bring in the other end around. And you want to make sure that you pull it kind of snug because this is a really thick bow. And you want to make sure that all those layers are really secured together. So you could actually stop here if you didn't want to use the resin. But our kit does include this 3D stocking resin. So I'm going to put a little bit of super glue. And again, I'm going to couple it with the hot glue. And I want to make sure I get all the edges so that it's secured all the way through. Okay, I'm going to center it down on my bow and hold it down for a few seconds. And I want to press pretty firmly. Do a little bit of cleaning. Get your little glue webs off. Okay, and there is the bow as is with our kit items. Now the kit does not include the clip, so you would also have to include your own clip. Now here I'm just kind of fluffing out our folds because they do kind of flatten out, especially these thinner materials when we are pressing our pieces together and holding it down for the glue. Super cute Christmas bow. So that would be the end of it using our bow kit materials. But now I'm going to take it one step further because we have these beautiful rhinestones also in our shop. And I have some yellow, some red, and this other one is called black green. And I'm going to add those as little accent pieces to my bow. So this is not included in the bow kit, but you can find it on our website at mamachuladesigns.com. So this little tray is actually my tool picker case, which is this tool right here. And this is a double-ended tool. So one side has silicone and the other side is just like a metal piece. So you'll see I use my same super glue to glue on my rhinestones. Okay, I do like this applicator because it's really thin. You do have to be careful, of course, not to squeeze the tube too hard because you know how these tubes are, and you get a whole pool of glue when you just wanted a speck. So you don't need a whole lot, and you don't want to use a whole lot just because you don't want that glue to spread under it once you place that rhinestone down. So you see how easy that tool grabs that rhinestone. All you do is touch the very top of it and you set it down. And then you want to flip your tool over to that metal side. Reason being, once you set down that rhinestone, you don't want to pick it back up with that black silicone end. So that metal piece just allows you to kind of move your rhinestone exactly where you want it without picking it up and lifting the glue off of the surface as well. So I'm adding a red rhinestone here, and then I'm going to go back and press it down with the metal end. And I take my picker tool, just touch the top of the rhinestone, see how easily it picks up. Set that down and then push it down or press it down with the metal end. So we'll do the same thing on the other side. Now, of course, my design is not exactly symmetrical, so it won't look exactly the same on the left and the right. I actually even use one of the black greens on this side instead of a red. So, of course, you have creative freedom here to do as you please. I would also, if you didn't want to coordinate the colors as much, you could also use our white rhinestones. That would be really cute. Little accent here as well, and just use all white rhinestones if that was more aesthetically pleasing for you. So different options. Last little rhinestone here. Set it on your glue. And now I'm going to take my metal end and press all three of these on this left side. Now this little one, I put a little bit too much glue on here and it kind of slipped away from me there, but that's okay. Put it back right where you need it. And look how cute. Super cute little accent. The lights definitely here did not do it justice. It has so much sparkle. Well, thank you for joining us, and I'll see you next time. Check us out, mamachuladesigns.com.